Hello everyone, Ogre27 Kane here today, and I want to do a review of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic for Nintendo Switch. Let's do an overview of what this is, what to expect. This is a remaster of the original Xbox RPG. This was brought to us by Aspyr Games and published physically by Limited Run. Now, this is one of the best RPGs on that generation, and one of the best Star Wars stories you'll ever play. So, first up, I think we should start with the story. This story takes place 4,000 years before the actual Galactic Republic. It deals with a couple of Sith and what their intentions are throughout the galaxy. They start out as well-intentioned and find some mysterious artifacts and come back with a bit of a vengeance. The story then follows the plot of one character in specific whose memory gets damaged, and you basically rebuild it as you play the game. When you figure out who this character is, it is essentially the best plot twist in all of Star Wars. The freedom with dialogue and interactions amongst your characters, and the ability to build the storyline that you want to in the way that you want to, seeking either light side or dark side powers, is definitely a huge advantage to this game. I can't think of a better Star Wars game, in my opinion, that allows you to manipulate the story in such a fashion. Your character is essentially faceless, and you are building the route to a legend, or lore rather. But the story doesn't just stop there. It's filled with tons and tons of side quests and all kinds of different things you can do. The game is loaded with colorful characters that are interesting, with different little dialogue options you want to see through. I can't tell you how many times I saved and reloaded just to see different dialogue options. Some of the characters are amazing. Now let's hit up on the gameplay now. Now, the general gameplay loop in this game sees you exploring a world, looking for different artifacts, helping other characters and side quests and creatures, and then eventually finding a star map on said world. There are multiple worlds to visit, and there are a lot of different side quests to do. The cool thing about the gameplay loop in this is it's set up like a traditional RPG, to where if you wanted to, you could just go grind away for wherever, or you can go set yourself and immerse yourself in the world and interact with the characters and find your fun that way. One of the best things about gameplay, though, is the feeling of manipulation, the feeling of control in the world. Every time you talk to an important character and you're given different options, through your force of persuasion, you have the ability to essentially hinder or change things within the world. You can change people's viewpoints on you and open or unlock certain side quests. Some characters may view you in a different light if you're light or dark, or if you're in between, maybe they don't want to talk to you at all. It's definitely the root of where you see most of what you see in large RPGs today, where they're trying to build these different branches and dialogue options. Yes, it's kind of limited because of its time, but 20 years ago it was state of the art. Another really cool thing about the gameplay in this is the customization of yourself and your characters. You can essentially make your character nothing but a blaster wielder, or equip them with lightsabers, make them a juggernaut, make them a force power user only, make them a pacifist. The gameplay features really open everything up, and as long as you can talk your way through anything, you can pretty much do any quest any way you want to. The only other thing I want to mention about gameplay is if you really do enjoy this gameplay, then I highly recommend that you go check out the game Jade Empire. It was made after this, and it is pretty much the apex or pinnacle of Xbox back in the day. So let's move on to combat now. Now, the combat in this may seem like it's a real-time or almost MMO style, but it definitely has a lot of aspects of D&D. Everything is based on dice rolls, and you can manipulate all of that through your equipment that you're using and what abilities you're using. Now, this is really cool because it doesn't set you to a certain stat or anything like that. It allows you to manipulate certain turn orders with different abilities. As I previously stated, if you choose to use a blaster and want to be a long-range fighter, totally cool, and there's abilities to back you up. If you want to use lightsabers and just rush into everything head-on, there are abilities to back you up. This game has a really exciting combat system, and at first it's kinda hard to understand because the combat actually happens fairly quickly. But once you get into it and understand what you need to, the game really opens itself up and allows you to experiment. Personally, I enjoy a mixture of all kinds of things, and I love having other party members with me that mix other abilities too. I throw all kinds of random stuff out there. Now, when I first played this game through back on the original Xbox, I adhered to a very strict policy of trying to equip each character with the stuff that I thought belonged to them. But on my new playthrough now on the Switch, and just having fun with and experimenting, I realized how wrong I was. How many different combinations of really cool weapons and options there are for certain characters. For one, I completely ignored the Wookiee on the first playthrough, and now I'm absolutely loving him. He is a beast! The last thing I want to mention about combat is how fun the customization options are for your lightsaber. I love experimenting with my lightsaber. Alright, let's talk about graphics and animations now. First up, let's talk about the graphics. And the graphics in this game are as true to form as possibly could be. They literally took the original Xbox version and just up-resed it and increased the frame rate. Personally, this is exactly what I want. I know there's talk of a remake. Whether or not that comes, I could honestly care less. This game is what I truly wanted all along. I love the art style, the animations, I love how clunky everything looks, I love the boxy pixelated art. Everything about this game screams my childhood. So to me, the graphics are on point. Now I understand if some people may not like them because they have that 20-year-old look to them, but they're very sharp and the art still holds up today. The upscaling technique used in this game is definitely on point. I'm not sure if it's at a true 1080 or just lingers below, but it certainly looks really sharp. It almost reminds me of what you'd see with an Xbox and a really nice monitor back in the day. I know that there were some games on the original Xbox that could actually run in 1080i or 720. This was not one of those games, but I am interested to see what it would have looked like had it been on that console. Now the animations in this are pretty smooth. I don't really know if the frame rate has been increased or not, but it feels like it has. It runs a lot steadier, and being an old RPG, it doesn't really matter if your frame rate is terribly consistent. You just need to get certain button presses in, and they don't necessarily be terribly well timed to understand your strategy. This is not a terribly difficult game, and it doesn't punish you for making mistakes or having little latency issues. But with that said, you do want some consistency and you want it to maintain itself. If you enjoy Star Wars or its artwork, you'll enjoy this game. It is very traditional and the game looks beautiful. I can't speak highly enough about it, regardless of its age. So let's move on to the next category now, the controls and audio. Well, the controls work well enough for what they're trying to do. There's not a lot of things that you can change, nor do you really want to change. There is sensitivity options and the usual, but other than that, it's pretty simple and basic. Most of your control options revolve around interaction, and if you need to change a button for interaction, then I'm not sure that's the biggest deal in the game. Other than that, the controls are fantastic in this. Yes, they are a little bit aged, you can see that with how edgy they are when I move the camera, but that's not something that you can really fix with the controls, that's more of what's involved in the game's code. The audio in this, on the other hand, is fantastic. It is everything you expect from a Star Wars masterpiece. They used all of John Williams' original scores, and they put a bunch of new stuff in that fits very well. The universe feels fantastic, and it sounds fantastic. The lightsaber slashes, the blaster pistols going off, the thermal detonators blowing up in your ears, they all sound really well. And as annoying as they are, even the Sand People have a good sound to them. With all that being said, I can't speak highly enough about the soundtrack. It will give you the full Star Wars experience, and put it in surround sound, you'll feel like you're taking part in the universe. This is definitely one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. Let's hit the conclusion now. Well, in conclusion, I'm really happy with what Aspyr Games did here. I really didn't expect this, in all honesty. I really thought they'd go overboard and add a bunch of flashy new stuff and change stuff, but they didn't. They gave me the game I wanted, and they gave me the game I expected. It is an absolute gem and a 10 out of 10. I bought this game brand new from Limited Run on pre-order, and I waited 6 months to get it. And it was totally worth it. I got the second one the exact same way, and it's totally worth it as well. This is one of the best Star Wars experiences you can possibly experience, and I love the fact that they brought it forward onto current consoles and generations. The Switch version is no slouch and is a fantastic version to play. This is not just something to give you a Star Wars fix. This is one of the best Star Wars games to play, and frankly a game that everybody should try. If Star Wars went back to its roots and enjoyed the kind of complexity of character development that this game has, then Star Wars would go a long way. I feel like the newest franchises are banking on the action side of Star Wars only, and they forget the heart, the fun, and the exploration that makes Star Wars so great. And that concludes my review of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic for the Nintendo Switch. A must-buy and a must-play. Well, thank you to everyone for watching today. It was a blast to make. I upload every single Monday. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and have yourself a great day. This is Ogre27Kane, signing out.